So there's a lot of politics going on in the higher harmonics with the beings who reside there as far as how much humans are going to be allowed to know. When it was finally agreed that they'd even let us re-evolve to get our consciousness back out of being stuck down in this harmonic in fragmented form, they agreed to allow the Mente rescue mission to take place. We fragmented from harmonic 2 the consciousness of the race that was the human race there. Fragmented. Literally, its morphogenetic field blew apart, and little fragments of consciousness just blended in with the dimensional frequency bands down here. And they would have stayed as undifferentiated units of consciousness if the original imprint of their morphogenetic template was not re-entered down here so they could start to build back up into it. It was building our consciousness back up in this harmonic to get back to what we were before we blew ourselves apart. It's hard to understand from our scientific perspective that doesn't even like to acknowledge anything above D3. But it was a very grand evolutionary plan of races over long periods of time to give us back our original potential. At this point, we are here. And when I speak about Aryan race, every one of the root races has all of the colors. Okay, so Aryans are not just white. You know, there are black Aryans, there are red-skinned Aryans. They're basically red, white, black, brown, and yellow were the basic skin categorizations, and there's all sorts of combinations of all of those. So each one of the root races had a predominant cloister race that had a predominant one of those colors, but then they would have all of the other colors in each race. So every race color was represented equally in all of the root and cloister races. Now, we've managed to evolve through our Lemurian period. The next one was to evolve strand number 4, or strand number 3, in the 4th root race cycle. That began with the Branoa cloister. Now, I was a member of this. I had an incarnation in that period, a couple of them in that period, so I remember certain things from that period. Last time they were here was 72,000 years ago. Before that, before they got wiped out the first time, they were here 3 million years ago. These are ancient, ancient races we're talking about here. Okay, before that, I believe they came in, no, we didn't get that, yeah, we got that far, 12 million years ago. So when we talk about the Branoa race, which are actually related more closely than any of the other cloisters except the Melchizedeks to the Indigos, we're talking about ancient, ancient races of beings here. This is an ancient genetic imprint. So right now, we've managed to get to the point where we're of the Aryan 5th root race cycle. Most of the people on the planet, and probably few of the people in this room, are of the Aryan root race. Evolving strand 4, just coming into opening up 4th dimensional frequencies into your awareness, just beginning to acknowledge the astral level of existence, just beginning to have perceptions associated with 4th dimensional consciousness. That's where most people are at in our present times. Most people in this room are probably more so in through here or here, where you're working on 4th through 5th strand development, because the information that I'm carrying comes in on a minimum of 5th dimensional frequency at this point. People who can't hold 5th dimensional frequency in their consciousness, they don't have the flashline sequence receptors for it, will not be drawn to this information. They can't process it. They won't be able to grasp it, and that's okay. So the people who are drawn here, sitting in these rooms, learning this stuff, it implies that you have a gene code that has some of the higher strand content to some degree, because that's drawing you in to receive information that's coming in on these frequencies. But most of us, most of the people on the planet walking around out there in Sleepersville, are of the Aryan race, just beginning strand 4 activation. When we see that, and then later we're going to see what the Indigos are, there's a striking difference here. Okay. All right, these guys, the Aryans, started about 65,000 years ago. They came out of the Hibiru cloister. Now, the Hibiru is not the Hebrew. They're different. They're two different race strains, interrelated, but different. Okay. The Hibirus were working on strand 4 plus 7 through 12. They were here about 68,000 years ago. When we look at our race lines here, and I can go right down to telling you, as far as races that exist on the planet now, where they came out of, what matrix they came out of. I'm not going to do that, because right now the consciousness on this planet would take that information and use it to hate each other more. They would use it to divide themselves and to point fingers, I'm better than you are, and to try to dominate each other. So there's a level where I won't plug in the final plugs to tell you, what this race is, what that race is, what that race is. But I will mention what the Hebrews are, because actually all of our seeding has to do, this time, has to do with the Hebrews that came from the race cycles before, when everybody got destroyed. Okay? We've had Hebrew-Egyptian lines. This is where all of these root races and all these cloister races came out of in this third seeding, out of the Urtites. 800,000 years ago. That's when this whole third seeding process came into being. Back down here in seed number 2, which was like from 3,700,000 years ago to about 848,800 years ago, that's when we tried this before. So, you know, same root races, same cloister races, didn't get very far. But some of the individuals from the cloister races here survived. And they were taken to other planetary systems, some were taken to inner Earth systems. We got the Hebrew strains in through here, right at the end. It was an attempt to save the declining races here, because they were getting into genetic mutation through Anunnaki visiting and messing with the gene code. Is a mixed cloister race. We have the Hybiru, which is the 5th cloister that goes with the Aryan root race. And up above that, we have the Melchizedek races. And you'll see this word in the New Age movement a lot these days. Melchizedek this, Melchizedek this. What in the world is Melchizedek? In its truth, it meant many things, but one of them was it's a literal cloister race of beings. And they are starting to enter here now. They're starting to enter their birthing cycles. But these are even small compared to what the indigos are. The Melchizedeks are very advanced. They come in with strand 5 in their birth imprint. And their life cycle is about activating strand 5. Really, that's a future time. The Muvarian root race is actually would be in the future from where we are. So when we have the Melchizedeks birthing in, they're beginning the next wave of evolution that would normally come through the Muvarians. When we move from strand 4 into 5 activation, probably several 100,000 years in the future. Indigos are even beyond this. You'll love this when you get beyond it. But you need to understand this basic structure to see, okay, who's at what stage of evolution? Each one of these races represent a phase or stage of evolution evolving back up toward the 12-strand pattern and beyond. Okay, so right now we have some Melchizedeks coming in. Many of the people drawn to this material because it comes in on a D5 frequency, which goes with the 5th strand. They have the 5th strand, which means they have a receptor to pull in 5th dimensional frequency, which means that they can respond to information that comes in on this frequency. So most people that respond to this at all have something to do with Melchizedek gene code in them. You were probably part of a cloister race just to be in this room, this cloister. But if you're indigo, you're even more than that. Yeah. Okay, I'm a Melchizedek, but I'm an indigo Melchizedek, and we'll get into the differences later. Okay, we'll get into this, too, when we're understanding indigos. The Uniseti cloister that's supposed to go with the one I can't even pronounce, Uinjuki 7th root race that's evolving strand 6. Remember, we're down here right now. Okay, evolving strand 6. They're a future race in harmonic 2, where Earth there is called Tara. Okay. They're many, many, many thousands of years in the future before our race would naturally evolve into that imprint in its original design. The indigos come in with strand 6 activated. People here come in with strand 3 activated. Most people. They birth in with the 3rd strand activated. They spend the process of this life and many others afterwards, possibly until they're done, activating strand 4. Then they birth into this race and they do strand 5. Then they come into strand 6 activation. It's a completely different race by then. It's a whole different root race. It's a whole different race cycle. It's a future race cycle. The indigos, one of the special features is that they're born with 6-strand activation. When you go into the dimensional scale, this is why they're called indigos. It's a New Age term that was coined by people who can see auric fields, who notice that they tend to have a real concentration of the blue frequency spectrum in their auric fields, more than average. There's a reason for that. The 6-dimensional frequencies that go with the 6th strand have what's called a capstone color. Now, every dimension has a capstone color, which is its primary wave spectra. If we remember, the color is a wave spectra, a wave pattern. Every dimension has a capstone, which is the primary wave pattern, then it has all these little wave patterns inside of it that are the color spectrums within it. Blue, indigo, goes with, we have blue on strand 5, indigo on strand 6, and then goes into violet in strand 7. Dimension 7 goes with violet. Dimension 6 goes with indigo. That's where they get indigo. They didn't even realize this. They were reading the auric fields and saying, I see this color. It wasn't known yet about the design of the DNA evolution, so nobody knew yet to look for what does that mean with the strands. But it's kind of interesting that it translates right into that. Strand 6, the capstone color, is indigo. They're born with strand 6 activated and strand 5 activated. Most Aryans are born with 3 activated and the imprint for strand 4. They don't even have the imprint for strand 5, 6, or 7 through 12. If you happen to be born a cloister, now these are mostly out of here by now. It's like a race cycle that phased out and moved into the next level, into the Aryan root race. Now we're moving into the Melchizedeks coming in. These are very special individuals. They have higher consciousness abilities because they are born with the strand 4 activated most of the time and the imprint for strand 5, which compared to the Aryans is much advanced. Compared to the Hybiru, it was advanced. So it's a progressive advancement of strand activation and integration of consciousness, which creates genetic evolution of the race while simultaneously creating consciousness evolution of the race. It's called biospiritual evolution. That's the process we're all involved in, whether we realize it or not. When we get into beings up here, they're not even supposed to be here right now. They're beings from future race cycles. The consciousness of those beings has many more flashline sequences in it than ours do, many more scalar grids, which means more awareness. They have access to more of their higher dimensional identity than we do, and they have this from birth. This can be a gift, and it can also be a curse. And the way our society is structured right now, to the indigos, it's a curse. It makes it almost intolerable to be here.